Hello and welcome back to Ground Level Theology. I'm excited about this episode, but Dave, have we not had quite the day already? Just getting to
Uh,
this podcast.
mm, Boy, have we. If only you knew.
Oh my
Uh,
goodness. So just to
Gosh.
let you guys know, Dave and I, we came together. We were getting ready to get this episode recorded. And as I went to press the record button and get us started, I thought, you know what? I need to be a little bit more comfortable. So I went to move the footstool out from underneath my
Mm,
desk, and I
Big
kicked the
mistake.
extension cord with all my devices plugged in. And I spent the last hour here with Dave on Skype, trying to fix audio and video issues. And so we have had quite the technical difficulty
Oh
today, but
gosh. Yeah. But
I'm
we're
real
here,
I'm really
right?
happy. Yeah, I'm really happy
Yeah.
that we finally did get to it. That we get to record this episode because
Oh
this one
yeah.
has kind of been on my mind for at least the last 2 weeks or so since I've seen the video, and uh, and yeah, I just can't wait to put this
Oh
before
yeah.
our
We
audience
had to wait.
because yeah. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and jump into this video, and no need to set up. I'll go ahead and describe this on Spotify in a second, but let's just jump right in. Alrighty. David, first off, I mean, we had such a conundrum here starting out today. I haven't even welcomed you and introduced you to the podcast. So welcome, and also let's talk about this.
Yes. No, Hi. Glad to be here. Um, it's not about me. It's not about us, right?
Right.
About the and but I mean, but think about it. The sacrifice, the determination we had, really, that you had to get us back online, back on track.
Right.
And for what? So we could watch this.
Now, for us,
And
our Spotify audience, just so you know, you might have listening. I don't know what's going on. All I hear is worship. Are they worshiping badly? No, they are not worshiping badly. Actually, they are worshiping great. What we see on this video is a worship service. It's a sort of a small little camera facing essentially only the first row, and there is a woman on her knees praising the Lord to this worship service right in front of the stage. She's just she's just jiving with Yahweh right here, you know. She's just
hmm
praising God. And a man walks over in front of her. She doesn't even see him because her eyes are closed, her hands are in the air in praise. He has to get her attention because he is now on one knee with a ring to put it on her. She says yes. He slips the ring on. He says something to her. I'm sure it's beautiful. Hugs her. So what we've just witnessed is a proposal in the middle of what I can only assume is is a Sunday, is a
yeah,
Wednesday,
Sunday morning. Yeah,
is a service.
yeah. It looks like
um,
Sunday worship.
yeah, it's pretty big. It looks like there's a lot of people there. Just looking at the front row, you know, there's a lot of people there when front row is kind of crowded. So, uh,
Yeah, like when you have to sit in the front row, it's like,
yeah.
man, got a lot of people.
Even as a pastor now, I was always a back row Baptist, you know. So it's like when front row is filled.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, man, there's no other seats available in the splash zone.
Right? Yeah. So we have a pretty packed house here. Worship is going and it's going amazing, and he proposes to her. Now, Dave, we both have a lot to say about this, but I'm just gonna give you the
Yes, we
floor.
do. Oh gosh. I always have something to say about everything, don't I? Um,
We wouldn't be
which
pastors if we didn't.
right. It's like if all you got to do is ask,
Hmm.
and then it's you just open a can of worms. Yeah, like when I see this video, I see a woman that is devoted to the Lord, understands why she is there, what that time is set aside for, and she is taking it seriously.
Yeah,
She's on the floor, uh, and not like trying to be theatrical. It's very much like not like it's not like she's like trying to get people to pay attention to her. She's just she's on her knees, she's eyes closed, genuinely worshiping the Lord, uh, paying attention to what she's doing,
yeah,
committed to that time. Uh, and then she essentially, yeah, I don't like she's interrupted,
yeah.
and things happen. Uh, interruptions happen in a church service. I've
Hmm.
had it where it's like, hey, do you mind scooting over a seat? I've had it with my own. I mean, I had triplets. Okay, they've cried out during a prayer time before, and like so interruptions can happen, and so it's not like you look over with a judgmental eye, where it's like you're not allowed to like tap someone on the shoulder. But like, what do we see here? We see a man that obviously knows her. I sure hope he knows her if he's going to pop the question.
Right.
But he stops her. But I think our big conundrum, and a question I really want to look at is, you know, it's not wrong to propose to the woman of your dreams, the woman that you want to marry, but the
Right.
timing. Like it looks like he obviously interrupts her. And
Hmm.
is that where the problem is? Is it not what you did, but when you did it? The
Yeah.
the timing seems to be what the big, you know, hoopla is. Like, why are we talking about this? Is it wrong to propose to someone? Is it even wrong to propose during a church service, Mike? Or
Yeah.
is it,
I
a
mean,
matter of
there's a lot to discuss here, and I'm gonna go
yeah.
ahead and bring this up back again, just real quick. I have you up here. And let's see if I could play this without some of the audio, because it's a lot. I'm just gonna turn this almost all the way down and have some of the audio. But I'm just gonna play this again. Yeah, that's almost no audio. Um, it's beautiful in that you could see that she's being proposed to, that he's, but something that I wanted to point out is she doesn't get overly, she's not like ecstatic, right? She doesn't jump up from her knees, she doesn't hug him. She's just sort of like in this zone of worship. And so
Right.
I'm sort of like, I don't
Hmm.
know. I think as I had to bring you back up.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
I just think as the woman, if like someone proposed to me, I would stand up and be like, "Oh my gosh," like,
Like, is this really
so
like, especially when you want it,
yeah,
right? Is this
yeah,
really
you'd like
happening? Oh
hug
my
him,
gosh.
you'd almost like tackle him. Um so I
Yeah,
don't know, there was
surprise, crying.
as I was watching that, because I watched it a few times, I was like, did he really do that? And then I just thought, the way she reacted was a little bit weird too. I just wanted to actually bring that up because I mean, she just said, I mean, the ring was slipped on. He said something to her and she was just like nodding. And I don't really know if that's because she was such like in a posture of praise. That's quite the alliteration.
Yeah,
But I don't
nailed
know if
it.
because
The
she was
proper posture of praise.
yeah, she was in that posture of praise. And so she really didn't kind of break out of that during this. And she was still going to do that. Or if maybe she's not that expressive of a person, or if she knew it was going to happen at some point, and this just kind of the straw dropped, I think is what it was.
It's like almost like blind, like I don't want to say blindsided in the sense like
Yeah.
it's not like I didn't know that we were at that place in our relationship.
Mhm.
Like because not to say that people can't get the wrong impression, but normally you're like as a gentleman, like, and I know when I got engaged, I wasn't taking time to look for rings, save for rings, and then like and then I'm thinking like I wasn't like as if I was not 100% sure that this woman would say yes when I
Right.
finally do. Like you don't go through all that trouble if you think, well, there's a 50-50 shot.
Yeah, we do. You have to. I mean, as the guy, you have to do the research, right? You
Right.
have to know
You have to know.
if she's looking towards that. Obviously, you both are dating towards marriage, but if she's looking, maybe in the next few years to get married, because if you pop the question now,
Right.
you'll get the no. So you do research, like background
Yeah,
research for that stuff.
like you should know, like you know, like without a doubt. Like it's like
Yeah,
I'm gonna ask and she's gonna say yes. And
exactly.
and so and and so like when she sees this, it's almost like I'm trying to like put myself in her shoes,
Right,
where it's like the reason why I think it's maybe bad timing, in the sense of not that like oh my gosh why is he asking me,
right.
but like why are you asking me now?
Yeah, and I just think it's so like her reaction. I don't know. I just don't
It's
know
like
how
I'm
quite to.
blindsided.
I don't. Yeah, I don't quite know how to interpret it. Um, the funny thing is, she's still ready to praise because she doesn't get up from her knees, right? She doesn't do that. So it's almost
Right.
like it's so inappropriate that when the guy gets down to a knee, he does all of this and he gives her the ring. He tells her the sweet whatever it is. It's sort of like, okay, cool. I'm gonna get up now and go to a different part
Awkward
of,
hug.
yeah, wherever I
Right.
came from. It's like
Well, like
it's
if you're engaged, sit next to each other, right? Like, are you
right,
sitting next to each other? Or
but you
well,
can
it's like
sort of
she
see
knows
the
what she came there
awkwardness
for.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, but it's like she knew what she came there to do, though.
Hmm.
And it's like, why are you interrupting me? Like, it
Right.
looks like one of those things, like where it's like, hello, like,
Hmm.
and it's almost it's like one of those things where trying to like not yeah not it looks I think she has that posture, not like I can't believe he's really asking me, but like right now like I'm trying to focus. It's Sunday worship. I don't want to get like taken out of what I
Yeah.
came here to do. And it's even like the guy, like I hope they could like look back on the video and like maybe hindsight 2020 where it's
Yeah.
like this is the perfect woman for me, because even when I proposed to her, like she cared more about trying to worship the Lord than like me in front of her.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
but I don't know if that happened.
No, absolutely. And what's funny too is like, as sort of like the Calvary Chapel Pasadena person that I was, we really like to not worship in a way that will call attention to us. And for those people that might be looking at the way that she's worshiping, because she's front row and she's on her knees, hands in the air, it's kind of like, is she doing it from the right heart? And we can absolutely see that she is, because she's front row on her knees, so there's sort of a seat blocking her. But then at the same time, like, if she was doing it for some sort of attention, she has the perfect moment to stand up, yell out, and make this service about her, right? Because she just got proposed to. That's one of the
Right.
times in which you can do that. And she doesn't. She almost seems to downplay it, like, okay,
Hmm.
I don't want to disrupt the worship service. And so
Like,
she's
don't make
she's
it
kind
about
of like
me.
she's
Mm.
mitigated all of that, which is kind of weird to see, because normally you have an outburst of emotion in those times, which is sort of appropriate, but you've put her in an inappropriate
Right.
situation, and it's kind of odd to see. And so that's kind of why I keep watching her, and I'm
Mm.
like my brain doesn't know quite what to do with how she
Well,
reacts, but I think she
yeah.
reacts appropriately. It's like,
Right.
thank you,
Well,
like,
like, and I'm
we're gonna have such a good,
yeah.
like, lunch after this. I want to tell but it's like still whispering, but she kind of doesn't,
Yeah.
mentally we should say.
Right.
um
Yeah. Well, because it's like like how do I side with the guy? Like I'm like
that's
let's
the
like
hard
in his
part.
mind. Because I'm like am I gonna really yell at a guy that's like this is the woman I want to be with for the rest of my life?
Right.
Like, and you can like and let's like set the scene. I met her in church. I grew up with her in church. What a where would be a better place for
Hmm.
me to like propose to her than like maybe like the place where it all started, kind of
Right.
thing. And And like that's a good thing. Like God loves marriage. Like he created us male and female. That way we would be married and committed to one another solely, soulmates. And like it's a beautiful thing. Like God likes when people get married. He likes when they get married his way. Proposing is how you start it.
Yeah.
And so like is what he's doing wrong? Like no, like
Like,
it's good to
no, yeah,
propose.
it's good to
The win.
propose.
It's all the timing because and we've talked about this a little bit earlier. As a man that has proposed to my wife, we've been married for a little over 5 years now,
I was
and
there.
Mike, and you were there. You were visiting. Uh,
Yeah.
it was over Thanksgiving break, and I mean, you were with me when I got the ring. You were with me like the night before when I was like, dude,
Hmm.
like I'm gonna ask her tomorrow. And then, all the fun asides, like, I hope she doesn't make the worst decision of her life and say yes. Um,
Oh
oh, but
yeah.
like, but she did it. But like, that's all I was thinking about, right? And we went to a parade. We saw a tree
Hmm.
lighting. We were with all of our family. It was fun. We had a whole day leading up to it, too. And so there was a lot to be focused on, a lot to be worrying about and thinking about and participating in. And all I kept thinking about all day was like, do I have the ring? Where's the ring? I want
Yeah.
everything to go right so I can pop the question. And like do you even remember like you held on to the ring for like a
Yeah.
hot second because it was cold and it's like, well, what if she tries to hold my hand
Yep.
and then put her hand in my pocket because it gets cold? I'm like, then she's gonna feel the ring. So like even you held on to it. And
Yep.
like and that was what? A Friday, the Black Friday, the Friday after Thanksgiving for a parade and then a tree lighting ceremony because of Christmas. Now imagine like Sunday morning. Like I'm trying to say all that. That guy's not focused on like, okay, it's the Sabbath, it's Sunday, it's the Lord's day. I'm gonna go to church and I can't wait. We're gonna worship the Most High God and I'm gonna praise Him and pray to Him and sing to Him and hear His word preached and enjoy the fellowship of the saints. Like
Hmm.
that guy ain't thinking that. He's like,
Yeah.
I hope she sits in her normal spot. I hope she doesn't get sick and she can show up to church today. I'm not even worrying about my coffee today because I want to make sure I get to where I need to get. And I hope that the worship pastor is actually doing that song that he said he was going to do because then I'm going to pop the question during our favorite song. And I'm trying not to read too much into it, but
Yeah.
it's like
Or like, I hope she
that,
doesn't sit
yeah.
mid row of like
Oh
third
gosh, like
row because then
excuse
I
me,
don't have a,
pardon me.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
like,
It's like,
but she came to worship, right? And he came to get engaged.
yep.
Is
And
like kind
that's
of like what I'm just seeing.
and that's sort of the big thing about it, right? It's like, let's just put the cards out on the table. Completely
Hmm.
inappropriate time.
Yeah.
Completely inappropriate time. And why is because he has interrupted worship. And I don't just mean worship as in the music. He interrupted worship as in the whole entire service that is dedicated to the Lord as a holy and separate time. He
Mm.
interrupted it in a manner in which he not only interrupted uh, during the musical portion in which people are praising to the Lord, but now if people saw that, they're going to be talking about it. Their minds are going to be thinking about this man just popped the question to so and so
Mm.
because
Mm.
obviously a lot of church people know each other, and that's all they'll be thinking about for the rest of the sermon, which is God's word
Oh
to
my
them.
gosh, yes,
So
like
it's
oh
like
my god, could you imagine? Oh my, I didn't
he
even
he
think about it like
ruined
that.
in some
The
sense
whole
the
sermon, you're
entire
like, I want to
service.
talk to him.
Yeah, like, oh
Oh
my gosh, I can't
gosh.
wait to, like, did you hear? Everyone's like over here just,
Oh,
greet your neighbor, and they're like, did you just
you're
hear?
so right. Yeah,
So
like greet your neighbor, and you're like, oh my gosh, like everyone goes to them. Oh,
yeah,
you're so right.
so he he absolutely just came in like a cannonball
Hijacked.
into the service of the Lord and absolutely
Mm.
disrupted it. And it could have been done so much better. And you asked the question, earlier, and there just could have been more appropriate times if he so
Yeah.
desired to do it in church.
Well,
Not.
that's the thing, right?
Hmm.
Like you just talked like like, because you could do it anywhere, right? You could have done Sunday afternoon, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Right.
You go out to a nice dinner Friday. But even if not that, and you had to do it on Sunday morning.
Hmm.
Like when could he have, like, he could have done it another time, right? Like
Yeah, well,
what should he have done?
I'm just thinking like if he was an absolute, right? Like let's say he wanted to do it during service. I mean, he was just absolutely focused to getting it done during service. He could have actually set that up with a pastor, right? Like
What?
the pastor could have
What?
even brought them up like, "Hey, there's a couple, that's just been serving with us. I really just want to bring them up and acknowledge them and dedicate them and pray over them," right? And so they've come up. He could have,
Wow, beautiful.
he could have just said, "Hey, like they're walking up to the stage, like you first, like chivalry's not dead, sort of like to
Yeah.
to mask what he's about to do, so that as she's walking forward, and then she goes to the
Like,
other side
yeah.
of the pastor, he's on a knee, right? And so the whole thing could have been done that
Smooth.
way, so that it's like the pastor has involved it, has made sort of an appropriate time for them. But no, he kind of came in like the bombshell during worship, got on the knee, and in some sense kind of made it about himself.
Like, and like, and I think there's a lot of parts of our service, right, that are good things that can quickly become distractions. Literally, like as we're talking about, strictly because of timing.
Yeah.
Uh, well, and we've seen just like in general, like just the natural distractions that happen, like with just normal miscommunication,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I've had it where I went up for my sermon like too soon, and they were supposed to do like scripture readings, and I
Oh
and I
my
remember
goodness.
just
Yep.
like the ripple effect that had, just like, and that's me, the pastor,
Yep.
and so or like when it's like time for baby dedications, and you're planning for, well, we do infant baptism, but anyway, baby dedications with
It's
baby
another
dedications with
episode.
water. That's another episode. But like I'm trying to think of like, equivalent. I'm doing air quotes
Yeah.
Spotify. For the sake of like a set aside time during your service,
Right. Right.
like you have three babies come up, but they're supposed to be four or something, and you're like,
Yeah.
where are they? And that's like kind of harmless. However, when those things go planned, it's orderly. It's
Mm-hmm.
not distraction because you're
Mm.
distracted because you're like, hey, this is the time
Are we
allocated
alluding to
for,
Paul right now in orderly
oh,
service?
oh, we're getting there, buddy. Because it's just like, because God is not a God of confusion. And so it's like,
Mm-hmm.
this is the time for baby dedications. This is or like, what would you do if you saw the guy that you look over and he like ate communion, like before we took
Oh
communion,
yeah.
like, and he just like eats it. And like, you're not going to like just straight up like yell at the guy, like, what are you doing? But it's like, it's not time to do
Right.
that yet. And so I think like same with the proposal, like I am not going to yell at a man for like wanting to like take his significant other that he's been dating, this woman that he's been hopefully courting and getting to know, and
Mm-hmm.
he wants to make her his wife.
Yeah.
Like I don't have a
Like
problem with that.
like no one is arguing for that. That's beautiful. The fact, I mean, she
You know,
said yes. So like clearly it was
yes, yes.
time. It was a good thing. But what is in question is should he have done it at that time? And it's like clearly not. Clearly
Yeah,
he
yeah.
did it at an inappropriate time. Uh, had some inappropriate ripple effects, I'm sure, during that service, and it just could have been coordinated. I mean, it could have been coordinated, and then it would have been appropriate. That's
Yeah.
that's
Well, you
like the
saw,
whole
yeah.
thing.
Oh. And you saw the evidence in the video as well with the
Mhm.
couple right next to them. Well, actually, let me two things.
Yeah,
The couple right next to them,
hold on. Let's bring this
because
back up.
like,
Let's see.
yeah,
I gotta
yeah,
I gotta
here, you
bring it up
play
for
it.
myself.
Yeah, there's that couple right next to them.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's looking over right there. He's wondering.
Yeah, they're
Oh,
both,
he has it over his mouth right now. He's holding his mouth, and he's just like, oh my
yeah.
gosh.
Like
She's
she tries
walking
to
over
walk him
now,
over.
laughing like, oh
Well,
my
'cause she's like,
goodness.
oh,
And this guy's
well,
on
like
the
also,
floor.
was
He
there
was
something wrong?
worshiping, and now he's just staring at them.
Yes. And
I
like,
didn't even notice that.
right. Well, and she's just like, because you could also wonder if you don't know what's going on. It's kind of like is there something wrong? Like, do I need to help you? Like, are you crying? Are you like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Are you out of breath? And then can I like the elephant in the room for me breaking the fourth wall? Like the person that is videoing them
Yeah.
is clearly distracted.
Oh, that's true.
Can I like talk like I don't know if it's his mom, friend, like you know, her parent, like someone like now they're worried the whole worship service, not about praising the Lord, but
About how the
making
video
sure I
came
have
out.
my camera out so
Yeah.
I can get him when he finally does it. And that's like also bad, as opposed to kind of like when we have baby dedications or baptisms and you have family around and then they know like this is when I can pull out my camera to
Yeah.
like take pictures or
I
or
gotta
you
give
come up
them.
after service. Like goodness.
I
Ugh.
gotta give them major props here because we can see at the end too
Steady camera.
that they look over. Clearly, they got distracted and everything, but now they're like, okay, I need to ignore the situation and get back into
Yes.
worship. It's
What?
like
Why? Yes,
I
they
need to
get it.
I
Like,
need to get
oh,
past the distraction and I need to ignore it and I need to pretend like I don't see it and I need to get back into worship. That's really hard to do. Like they're not really
mm,
doing that. Right now that's in their head that okay, I need to ignore what's going over there and I need to try and worship up there. Um so yeah, that's I mean, I got to give them
oh.
props for that, but that's really
Well,
difficult.
because like now, oh, sorry, I'm trying not to get like
Yeah,
overly frustrated. I'm
absolutely.
not trying to get
that's
more mad
that's
than
the
it deserves. But I'm also like, isn't that distracting too? You are
hmm
now distracting yourself from worship to make sure you're not distracted from worship.
yeah. Like that
Because
is a
now
step.
all they're thinking about is like, I can't be distracted. I can't be distracted. I can't look at
Yeah.
them. And that's distracting.
Yeah. It's
Like,
like don't think
it
about
just
pink
stinks.
elephants. Now your task that your mind is on is not to think about it. That's what you're thinking about. The action of not thinking about it. That's what they're
Well,
doing
and
now.
yeah,
They're trying to not be distracted and get back into it.
and I think what you see here is like something that started out as like a harmless thing, a harmless idea, had
Mhm.
this just huge ripple effect now. And especially, what if there's people that do know them in that church that they're like would have loved to like celebrate with them in that moment, and
Mhm.
they know that if like four, like I mean, two people, four people, 10 people just like just immediately rush over there to like hug them or smile, like you just
Yeah.
took over.
Here,
And so it's like I can't even celebrate with you.
I have a special question that I just thought of.
Oh goodness.
Dave, as a pastor, if this is your congregation and you hear while you're, I don't know, do you sit first row? Because I sit at the back. I have to be the sound guy and also the cajon guy.
Right. Um,
Um,
I sit front row just
okay.
because it's quicker to get up and down
Right, right,
from
right. I'm just thinking
stuff.
last song of worship. You sit
Oof.
front row.
And I
She's
look over.
middle row, right? Um,
Yeah.
and you see this happen, right? Which is it's already done. You didn't know that was about to happen. And now it's your time to preach.
Hmm.
What do you do? Right? Because now do you address it or do you ignore it? And it's like you and I both know you kind of have to address it.
Yep.
You have to say like, wow, like, hey guys, we just saw a proposal. Congratulations. But now
Ugh.
that's like what, 2 minutes out of your sermon.
Yeah, I would
And then you're
either.
gonna try and tie that back in during
Mm,
your sermon.
oh gosh, oh.
It's gonna throw you
I'm trying
off,
to think.
right?
Let me process. Like I'm already thrown off just by the question. Like, why is this at my church? Like,
Right.
why does it have to be my Sunday? But like, let me think. Like, my initial reaction is like, I'm gonna ignore it. Like that was
Yeah.
initial, just like off.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
now, let me process. But
That's
it's
sort
like
of the
off
default
the cuff, I was like,
setting.
I'm just gonna ignore it. I'm
Hmm.
just gonna pretend like it didn't happen, and I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna be about what we came here for, and like so, like I'm gonna get up and I'll be like, hey, we're now coming to our sermon, but before we jump in, let me go to the Lord in prayer,
Yeah.
and like almost like this is why I'm here.
Right.
and then I might talk to him later. But honestly, it depends on how much of a react. I would address it depending on the reaction that it gets. I
Hmm.
think.
Yeah.
I think if I see like if I'm in the front row, I'm gonna see it.
Yeah, you
Uh,
are.
and if I see like, and I'm saying I'd probably ignore it just by the fact like the couple right next to them seeing their own impulse to try to be like, I gotta focus on what I'm
Yeah.
supposed to be focusing on. I'm not going to add to the distraction
Hmm.
by talking about it even more.
Yeah.
So I'd rather just be like, everyone kind of saw it, but like we all also kind of know, like, that's not why we're here.
Yeah.
But if I see everyone, if like on the other end of it, like address, like go up to them, or like they're still looking at them, even
Yeah,
though
or if
we're
there's like a fellowship break between that and when you go up to your sermon and everyone now's like the
yeah.
room goes like at that point you have to address it.
Then I might, but even then, I probably would personally keep my address pretty short and just be like,
Hmm.
hey, you know, um, I saw, someone's, I don't know their names, Ben and Jenny.
Yeah.
I saw, what a wonderful moment. Ben, I hope a huge weight is lifted off your shoulders because she said yes. Like,
Right.
I might make it something light, but it's
Yeah.
like, um, and we're
Like
happy for
Jen, we're
you.
gonna pray for you
Yeah,
because you just said
we're gonna,
yes.
yeah, yeah. I trust your judgment, but like, yeah, I might make a joke, but then it's like, and so we're so happy for you both. But let's jump right. But I might make a transition, but like, um, but let's
And you end
get
up
into like what we
in like
kind
Amos,
of.
which is like a judgment passage and stuff, you know.
Oh God, yes. Oh,
Uh,
oh gosh, that'd be my
well,
life.
I
But
mean, just sort of like from that aspect, because we got to be. This is sort of a question that just popped up out of nowhere, but now that we got to kind of play a little bit of like the hypothetical, let's put ourselves in as pastors. I gotta say, at minimum, it would at least kind of throw me off a little bit, and it might pop up in my
100%.
mind during the sermon at random points. So I would actually feel like I don't quite have a firm grasp of my sermon. Like I not
Mm,
that I don't understand it, but like as I'm delivering it, I still feel like something behind me is sort of pushing me off balance a little bit. And
mm,
and maybe you're a little bit better than ignoring it, but when something like that happens, sometimes it's kind of hard to shake. And I'm just thinking, with the level of that, I think it would
mm.
be something that's sort of at the background, always kind of nagging me, though I can't address it. And I just
Yeah.
think like, well, that's from a pastor's perspective, you know?
Like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, this is like, your bread and butter. This is like not like any old Sunday, and like
Yeah,
you become complacent. But it's like, but this is what I do. Like, this is like where I work. This is my environment. And so, like, usually you're the guy that doesn't get thrown off, right? You're the
yeah,
guy that's like, hey, I'll help. The show will go on. I'm the cool, calm, collected guy, the quarterback. Even when
hmm,
he's out of the pocket, he knows, like, I know the plays,
yeah,
and like we'll be okay, and we'll get it right back on track if it goes off the rails.
right,
Um, but we think like we as pastors also think ahead about
right.
these things because like we would want to find like if you wanted to do this, I would try to find a place for it.
Oh,
There's
100%.
or like or as I said, like baptisms or like baby dedications. Like
Hmm.
I talk about the significance of baptism. Or like let's say we're doing an infant baptism. I'm going to talk about the significance of baptism before I have the families bring the babies up
Yeah,
because
yep.
babies are cute and everyone will always want to look at the baby before they want to look at me and hear about this is what baptism means.
Yeah, smart.
Like, oh, he's cooing, she's so sweet. And it's like, and like think about that, if I'm doing that for something that's planned, timed out, that's why we hand out the communion elements like in a baggie when you come in before the service.
Hmm.
That way we're not rummaging or trying to grab it while I'm talking about it. It's already right in front of you. Like there's a method to the madness.
Hmm.
And so it like, yeah, like, and it's not like you're just, you're so strict and you have an order of service where it's like one little ounce of freedom, one little blip, and you're just like, the
Right.
whole thing gets like thrown
Yeah.
off. But
I
it
mean,
is like,
we preach through children crying. Like there's a
right,
we stay the
coughing,
course. I'm just saying,
sneezing,
like, for
someone's phone went
myself,
off. Yeah.
yeah, that's still like that psychologically does something to you. Does someone's cell phone go off? I'm thinking, man, like in our service we actually have please silence your cell phones. Like, why didn't you silence it? That's in my head. But then after about 5 seconds or so, I push that aside. You know.
Yeah.
But with something like that, I
But
feel like it would
still,
be
like,
something that sort of is holding on to my pant leg, by my ankle and just not quite letting go. I'm running, but I can feel something is I'm not quite in my stride.
yeah, or like I mean, like I'm trying to think of the timing. Like, what if you're the worship leader, worship
Yeah.
pastor, and you're like, great, you just kneeled down when I was trying to do the last chorus,
Yeah, I
and
was
now
just
I feel
about
like
to
we gotta
end.
go again because if I stop and you're just kneeling
Yeah.
there, like, all right, everyone, please be seated and prepare for the sermon,
Or like I
and
was
it's
just
like,
about to start praying, and
yeah,
yeah, that's funny.
like that's like I know that's not in the clip, and I'm not trying to
Hmm.
add something that isn't there. But I'm just trying to get into the various parties and what could have gone on in their mind, maybe
Yeah.
having participated in the average Sunday morning worship service.
Yeah, I think the hermeneutic here for kind of avoiding something like that, because this is sort of a platform to a larger issue, and it's like how might we should be treating the service is really just
Mm.
in a way in which we can serve, to bring up the service in sort of a way. I know I just used service like two times in two different ways, but it's like it's so that we do not disrupt it. And so we should never be distracting from, but we should be adding to, right? Like we shouldn't be
Hmm.
distracting from the music, we should be adding with our voices. But our voices
Hmm.
should be adding to the chorus of voices worshiping the Lord, not distracting so that people can hear how good I sound. That's
Right.
why we don't yell when we sing.
Like,
We sort
oh
of
gosh,
join
like,
the choir,
mm.
and
Well,
so
right.
yeah, this idea that we want to add to the beauty of the service, but not distract from. And so that's one
Mm.
way that we could do that. But the other thing is also, um, we can even ask the question, is my heart in check with that, right? Because we talked about it a little bit earlier,
Mm.
with people. Sometimes people's praises are a little bit to drive attention to them. um,
Mm.
but if you're thinking, is this distracting and is my heart in check, you can actually start to funnel out some stuff like this. Like, hey, maybe actually I
Right.
would be distracting. And maybe, though I want to be married to someone I love during church, um, maybe my heart isn't in check to make it about myself, right?
Oh,
Maybe
yeah. I
I need
wonder
to
if he
think,
asked that question. Yeah.
yeah, like
Mm.
maybe I need to be thinking, how can I not be distracting? And how can I make sure that this is an appropriate time for her and for me, right?
Like, well, because that's, oh gosh, like I know what my father and my brother and I, we've been on worship teams before, and this is musically, but like you always are trying to find that balance between like, am I showcasing the talents that God has given me for His glory, or am I like on the fine line of embellishing,
Yeah.
where and you also, and like distractions happen where it's like you don't, not practicing and not playing the song correctly is a distraction.
Hmm.
Also, playing the song too good and and like showing off,
Oh, like throwing
adding
in
to
a
the
bunch of
song.
little like fills and stuff
Yeah,
that
like
show
it's
like how
like
good of a guitarist or
like
drummer you
you don't
are.
have, yeah, it's like, exactly, you don't have to be like, this is how Eddie Van Halen would play How Great Thou Art. You know, like it's like I'm just trying to like explain like
Yeah.
what is like what's the balance between like they're a talented guitarist, they're a talented singer,
Hmm.
and they're using that talent to give glory to the Lord, as opposed to I'm going to use this talent so you hear, see, and acknowledge me. And so I
Right.
say all that, if that's like how we're trying to do music and of worship, would we have even had this video to react to if this
Yeah.
gentleman might have asked these questions of, hey, you know what, this might take people away from focusing on the Lord. It might even be seen as, you know what, like I'm not going to do my future bride like that, where like,
Mm.
like cuz it was so fun. Like so many like women, young girls daydream about their wedding day. Like young boys,
Yeah.
guys don't really do that. Ladies, they daydream. They uh enjoy imagining what their wedding day is going to be like, what their proposal is going to be like. How are you going to ask? What are you going to say? Like, where are you going to do it? And it also it robbed the Lord of his moment because it's Sunday worship, and it actually even robbed her
Hmm.
of
Yeah.
her moment, where it's like where
Yeah.
and you try not to tell everybody, but like even Amber had her nails done. That way, like when you take pictures of the ring on your hand, your nails look pretty. Like you just kind of know.
That's funny.
And
Yeah.
so it kind of robbed her of, this moment where it's like, or like this is supposed to be special for her,
Hmm.
taking in like, here's the man of my dreams, he's kneeling before me, he's asking for my hand, he's telling me of his love for me and how he wants to spend the rest of his life with me, and then he's going to ask me the question that I like long to hear. And and maybe she's not that type of lady, or it's just like she couldn't even have that experience, even think like that, because of
Hmm.
the timing of it, where she's just like blindsided, where it's like the last thing I would have thought was like, yeah, during Raise a Hallelujah or
Yeah.
something, like, yeah, you know, the song of response or something.
Imagine, imagine if it was heart of worship.
Oh,
I'm coming back to
oh,
the
the
heart of
irony,
worship
the
where
irony.
it's all about you, and then he comes over there.
Like I'm trading my sorrows,
And
like I don't know, break every
yeah.
chain. You just pick like, oh gosh, like,
Well, I think
uh,
we pretty much got this. I mean, guys, don't propose during a worship service. And if you are
without talking.
going to propose, please coordinate it with the pastor and with the worship team, both of them, and make sure
That's
that
so
you
true.
have set up an appropriate time. I mean,
Mm,
there's plenty of places within the body, within the context of the church, in which you can propose. I'm also just thinking like you could do it during a retreat, during the free time. If you guys go out, some we have a retreat and we can go to Catalina. It's you can have a long walk on the beach and then do it at sunset when there's free time.
oh,
Beautiful time.
beautiful,
There's just
gorgeous.
there's a lot of different places that you can in the context of both ministry and the church. The the thing is
Mm,
you have to make sure that you coordinate and make sure that it's appropriate. You have to be asking, am I distracting people? Am I distracting others? Am I distracting from the Lord? And is my heart in the right place for both me and well, my my soon to be fiance? Uh,
yeah, the party, yeah,
but
exactly.
it's just we have to make sure that we are not taking away from the time that people have a holy time in the Lord, because we only get about 2 hours a week,
Mm,
2 hours a week with
very
people
true.
to bring them to the Lord. This is like this is like someone and they have life-saving medicine that they have to take. And for whatever reason, most people are not taking it daily. They are just not taking it daily. And for some, they're just barely taking it weekly. They're showing up on Sunday, and that is the only time they get the Lord. Don't distract from the only 2 hours that we have with most people.
Mm,
Like, that's, you just
good point.
seriously take that time seriously and take it for yourself, because that's the time that we have for you. And we've constructed a sermon, we've put in the hours, we've tried to polish it so it really comes through, so that the word of God is understood without obstruction and in pure clarity as the Lord is seeking to try and convey his message. And then just to kind of come in like a wrecking ball sideways and then just kind of essentially make it about you is just really not appropriate.
Mm.
And it's just something you really want to be asking, am I distracting from, or can I add to, in that sort of way?
And and I just real quick, one last
Yeah,
thing.
absolutely.
Like, I think that, like, it's not even like we're using this example of a proposal, right?
Right.
I think that this is a question that should go through every congregant's mind every Sunday, just in
Hmm.
general.
Yeah.
Of yeah, like it doesn't have to, like, even like you're like, I'm never gonna, I'm already married, or I'm not gonna propose to my girlfriend at church. Where it's like, it's this is just um a springboard,
Hmm.
a catalyst that we can talk about that bigger question of really making sure that we're coming to church for the right reasons.
Yeah.
That it's we're asking what the Lord will get out of our worship, not what we get out of worshiping Him. How we can make sure that the Lord gets noticed, that Christ is glorified, and not that I'm noticed and
Yeah.
glorified or said hello to, or whatever it might be. Checking my heart, making sure that I'm going to church for the right reasons.
Hmm.
I mean, in that kind of, like, community's good, music's good, all the blessings of the church is good. But, like, if you come to church and you don't, it's because I get to worship the Lord. I get to hear, sing, pray, read, and hear His word. Uh, then yeah, you might not be proposing, but
Yeah.
I still don't know if you really have the right motivation for
Hmm.
coming to church on Sunday. Dare I say it?
Right.
Just saying.
Well, that being said, we can start to recommend some resources. We don't have recommended resources for rings or how to propose, but but there is something that is not really relevant to this episode per se, but certainly relevant to my life. A couple weeks ago or so, maybe even a little bit further, I was writing a paper, in fact, and I wanted to cite a definition for a certain theological word that I wanted to use. Now, I wanted not Merriam-Webster's or Oxford's dictionary version of it. I wanted sort of a concise definition from a Christian who knows what it meant. And so what I was looking for was this book right here, the Pocket Dictionary of Theological Terms. And I have this because at times this comes in very handy. Not to be punny because it's almost the size of my hand, but I wanted to use it to cite it just to kind of set up a little bit of a foundation of here's a definition of this, and then kind of move into the idea throughout my paper. And I just could not find it. I almost tore up all of my shelves looking for it where it should have been. Found it today, a little bit too late, but it's actually a source I recommend because you know, I even found dispensationalism in here from
Nice.
last week's episode.
Look at us.
It was a pretty good definition, but you have wonderful definitions in here of stuff. Even reading through it and just kind of reading terms that you don't know would be sort of really edifying. But I mean, as far as like what we're essentially doing this. We're essentially
Yeah.
taking academic terms
theological
and
terms.
bringing it to the ground level. And here's essentially a ground level book.
Yeah. Now
uh,
don't stop listening to us just because you'll get that book. All right.
Yeah, so I mean it's sort of a fun little resource to have, and even if you're going through some of your commentaries or some theological books and you don't know what that means, this comes in handy as
Mm.
well, and I have used it for that a couple of times. But at the level that we're at, we pretty much know all the terms that are in there. They kind of got shoved into our brain and then drilled in there. But we pretty much know the terms now. But every now and again, like I said, with the paper, I might look one up just because I want to define it and have a source. But
Yeah.
actually,
What's the
just
difference between infra and supralapsarianism?
those are two terms,
I'm
and
just kidding.
unfortunately,
Not
folks,
good.
I'm not actually going to define it for you. You can go ahead and
Perfect.
look those
You
up.
can go get. Yeah.
But Dave,
No, that's
you,
good. But like, yeah, what is that?
yeah,
Yeah. Um,
that's another
you
episode,
can read the.
maybe.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. But you can read the definition now and
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly. But Dave, you have another little book that
It's
you
so
want to
little.
recommend, and that's sort of a theme that maybe we have in this section. So go ahead.
Yes. It is little. It's actually small enough where it has little in its title. It's called book, a little book for new theologians.
Hmm,
And obviously, like you've heard us, use the play on words. Everybody's a theologian because everybody has something they believe about God. Even the atheist who doesn't believe he exists means he believes something about God. He believes he doesn't exist.
yeah.
So we're all theologians, but it's really a little book for those that like are interested in getting into the weeds of
Hmm,
theology. And so, kind of like not necessarily a dictionary of theological terms, but it helps wet your whistle if you're like, well, what is biblical theology? What's systematic theology? What are everyone keeps saying these different types of theology. I don't even, is it a doctrine? Is it just a view? What's the difference? And so, what it really does is it focuses and hones in on a lot of the key doctrines of the Orthodox faith, and then
hmm,
allows you to, give you very concise articulations of those beliefs. So maybe not like a dictionary, but if you like, what's Arminianism? What's Calvinism?
hmm.
What is the view of, you know, faith versus, works righteousness, faith righteousness, or
Right.
salvation by works, or these different theological terms, but not even just their definition, but kind of how they're applied, how they kind of manifest themselves in the church, as well as the scriptures that you can find that talk about that in the Bible.
Yeah.
So it's a little handy dandy, not a notebook, handy dandy notebook, but a little book for new theologians. You're just trying to wet
Hmm.
your whistle, get introduced to the conversation
And
on the
uh,
ground
and
level.
who's the author of that
By
one?
Kelly, yeah, by Kelly Capick.
Capic, and that's
Yeah,
how do you spell that?
um, it's his last name. It's Kelly and last name Kapic.
Okay.
Kelly
Okay.
Capick. Why and how to study theology. So it gives you, yeah, the tools to even know where to begin.
Yeah. All right. A little book for new theologians by Kelly Capic. All right. So that's going to do it for this episode. We really hope that you enjoyed this. Remember, add, don't distract. And one way you can add
Yes.
to this resource that we're putting out, that is the Ground Level Theology Podcast, is by liking, sharing, subscribing, commenting even. We've been noticing some comments and we are thoroughly excited to read them and interact with them. We really do enjoy seeing what you guys are up to, what you guys think. And then, as we did last week, we even did an episode on sort of a recommended episode. So I think that person got a little bit more than they asked for because it was 3.5 hours. But yeah, we really do listen and we
Maybe.
interact with you guys. And the reason why is because we're not just putting out another theology podcast. We're here to have a conversation with you. You are our
Mhm.
podcast essentially, and um, so long as we can bring these theological topics to the ground level and have this conversation, we want to have this conversation with you. So that's one of the ways you can add for us is like, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. But most importantly, we look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Bye.
Yeah.